All right, Rob, we're here with another episode of Ruminate, and I want to know a little bit about your experience with Pokemon Sword and Shield because I picked up the game as soon as it came out. I had to endure the torture, of course, of it first arriving in Italy to my good friend Federico, and then an hour later with Mike Hurley, and not for 5 more hours after that to me. And I know you didn't pick it up on day one, but you picked it up pretty quickly after that because I think you saw. I don't know. You had texted me and you had mentioned that you had seen like Mike was talking about it and I was talking about it and other people were talking about it. I mean, what was it that kind of convinced you to pick up the game and play it?
Yeah, so I had a little bit of time off work, so I had some time to fill. And yeah, like I say, I saw a bunch of people tweeting about it. I wasn't really interested, to be honest. I was like, yeah, because I've played like the original games and I played Let's Go Eevee, but I wasn't really that bothered either way. I was like, oh, maybe I'll pick it up at some point. And then I thought, well, I've got some time off, and I saw like I think it was you and Mike specifically tweeted about it, and I thought, do you know what? What does it matter? Like, it's not going to go down in price because it's a Nintendo game, so there's no advantage to waiting 6 months because it will still be £45 in 6 months because Nintendo games just don't go down in price. So yeah, I think I ordered it. It must have been on launch day, and then it came on the Sunday, so like 2 days later. And then yeah, I mean, I sort of got stuck in, and like 50 hours later, I was like, right, I'm done now.
Well, that's great. I mean, my background with Pokemon is very limited too. It's even more limited than you because it was, the original games came out at a time when I really wasn't playing games anymore. And so it really kind of passed me by. And it was, I guess, Pokemon Let's Go got me back into it a little bit. And, I've just heard so much from people I know about the series and who are excited about this game when it was coming out that I felt like I should like dip into it and see if it was something that somebody like me who really doesn't know the backstory or the history of the game could enjoy. And I've loved it. I haven't played like an enormous number of hours. I've maybe played 10 to 20 hours of it so far. Mostly in handheld mode because I find the game really relaxing to just wander around and collect Pokemon and do a few battles. I'm not really not in a hurry to get through the story, right? I'm more interested in exploring, and okay, after a while I'm kind of low on, all my Pokemon have kind of taken a beating and I need to kind of go regenerate and pick up find ways to earn some money and do all those things. But for the most part, I just find it a really relaxing game to just hang out and leisurely stroll through this environment, because what's interesting to me about it is that it's not an open world game by any stretch of the imagination. There's definitely, it wants you to go from here to here to here to here. It's very linear, but along the way at each of those, I guess, nodes on the path to completing the game, there's a pretty big area to explore and try things and just meander about until you're ready to move on to the next stage. It's not really ever pushing you forward. It's really, you move forward at your own pace, which is the kind of game I really enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, the area you're talking about, like the wild area as they call it, which is
right.
It's weird. Like, it's very strange because obviously for anyone who's played Pokemon, like, you're in a town and you can't move the camera, you can't do it. All you can do is move along the sort of predefined paths. But then there's this area in the game where you can move the camera around,
right? Like
an open world game. You can pretty much, depending on how far through you are in the game, you can literally go anywhere in that wild area. And I mean, after playing it for a little bit in that area, the first thing I thought was, I really hope the next game is like the wild area. Like,
and that's the only, yeah, and
it doesn't have to be this huge,
right,
like,
and that's the only part.
It doesn't have to be this huge open world monster, but it's very strange switching between this, like, quote unquote open world area to being back in like the fixed areas of the towns. Right. So I really hope that they do a lot more with that with the next game. I don't know when are these like yearly or every 2 years or something, I
Yeah,
guess.
I'm not entirely sure about that, but I agree with you. I mean, so far the wild areas to me have been the most fun because that's where you can do a lot of exploring, and the towns serve their purpose, and there's a lot of different things to do there. And I think the game does a really good job of transitioning you from one area to the other, so you kind of understand very quickly what you can do in one area versus the other because I did find myself initially kind of trying to use the sticks to look around in the town in a way that you really can't because it's not that kind of game. Uh, but once you get used to the distinction between the two, it's a lot of fun to play.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was kind of funny. I think I must have been maybe 25, 30 hours in, and I'd unlocked all of the wild area, and I guess I was getting fairly close to the end of the game. I pretty much only had sort of the final big part where you battle all the gym
Uh-huh.
trainers and do the final thing, but you become the Pokemon master and all of that stuff. Um, and I remember saying to Jess, I said, "Oh yeah, I've only got a little bit left to do. I think I've had my money's worth. I've played enough. I'm just going to go and catch a few Pokemon and level up a few." And the next time I checked how long I'd played for, it was like another 15 hours. Like I'd literally spent about 15 hours just not non-stop, by the way. I had slept. But I'd spent about 15 hours just leveling up Pokemon, evolving them, like looking for new ones. And I was like, I don't think I'd ever really got caught up in a Pokemon game like that. Like even with Let's Go, because there's a lot less Pokemon and stuff like that, so it was kind of easier to complete the Pokedex. But yeah, so like, maybe a third of my gameplay time was just, as you're describing, just sort of milling around and catching a few Pokemon, doing a couple of battles. And yeah, I was just kind of surprised how long I ended up spending doing that.
Yeah, and that's what's interesting to me about this game is that it works on a lot of different levels. I mean, you can kind of do the casual version that I'm playing, which is just take your time, enjoy the story, see what's there, learn more about kind of the lore behind the game in general. Or you can power through the story, get to the final battles, do all the final battles, and then start leveling up a huge team and playing competitively with people online. I mean, there's a whole another level of the game that is possible that I haven't really explored, and I'm not sure I'm actually going to do it at any point, but I know that a lot of people enjoy that aspect of it too.
Yeah, I did. I think I did a couple. You can just sort of go on and just battle somebody, and they find you somebody, and you do it. And it was fine. It's not for me. But yeah, I mean, in the online stuff, it's just terrible. It's so everything's kind of janky, and if you connect to the internet, there's a couple of weird things that happen. One, if you're in the wild area, the frame rate drops to about 15 frames per second.
Yeah.
Like it just looks awful, and stuff's popping in and out. And the other thing is, if you then take a screenshot and try to post it to Twitter or Facebook, I guess, if you've got that connected, the Switch says, "Oh, no, you've got a network connection open in your game. We have to shut that network connection off to be able to post to Twitter." And I'm like, what kind of internet are you? Like,
That
what on earth is going
that's
on?
insane.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah, well, Nintendo and online is not. I mean, I know this is not a first party game really, but Nintendo is not super well known for doing online super well. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's a pretty great game. I'm looking forward to playing more over the holidays. I feel like right now I have an overwhelming number of games that I want to play, and I'm not really sure where to start. I mean, I'm going to stick with Pokemon for now. It's kind of my relax and unwind at the end of the day type of game, but I really want to. I bought Control, and people in my household have played it. Not me though, but I'm thinking that that's going to be kind of my holidays game more than anything else. And I don't know, Mario Maker is another one that I want to kind of fiddle around with because I like the idea of building my own levels for Super Mario. Coming up with all sorts of difficult levels, but I'm not sure it's going to be as much fun as feel like work. And so I haven't really gone down that path yet. Have you ever played that game?
No, I don't think I have. I might actually. Let me look at the shelf. No, I don't have I thought maybe I had the first one. But no, it's never been. I think there's a couple of other games like this. There's like a racing game on the PS3 that was like this,
Uh-huh.
where 90% of the game was either building your own tracks or using other people's
Right.
tracks. And I tried it. Like, it was a fun game if you could find decent tracks that other people had built. Because obviously, you know what these things are like. Like, there'll be people that do amazing things with
Right.
it. And you play those tracks, and it's like, yeah, this is great. But then, if it doesn't have like a story mode or anything to sort of keep you going, it's not. It's just not the kind of thing that I'm really interested in, because I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time like building my own levels.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, what's interesting about Mario Maker is that there have been some really well known game designers who have dipped in and created levels. So, I mean, I may pick it up and just kind of play like a select who's who of levels who have created it. I'm not sure that I really want to spend the time making them myself. I mean, as much as that, on the one hand, that that feels like one thing that I've been doing a lot lately at Mac Stories is I've been trying a lot of new creative apps like drawing apps, painting apps, photography apps, things that aren't really core to the sort of stuff that I do and make, but that I find interesting and kind of a different kind of outlet to creativity. And I could see something like Mario Maker being like that, but at the moment I've got enough of that already stacked up on my plate anyway, so I'm not sure if I'm gonna do it on the game side as well.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, like you say, you've got Control, you've got Pokemon, which, like I say, I did like 50 hours, and I've still got other stuff to do. I've still got some post game stuff that I haven't done yet. But after all that, I kind of just needed a break from it.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? I need to go back. I need to play. I need to play the Untitled Goose Game, which I have and still haven't played. I need to. I really want to play more of Yoshi's. What is it? Yoshi's Woolly World. Um,
Crafted World is the new
Crafted
one.
World. Right. I mean, I haven't. I've only just kind of scratched the surface on that one too. So yeah, there's a bunch of games I want to try.
Yeah, definitely. Well, talking about being overwhelmed with content, we've got we've got three streaming services here. We've got Apple TV Plus, Disney Plus, and Plex, which seemingly doesn't have a name. Because we mentioned Apple TV Plus last time, and I said that I was at least going to watch something. So I sat down and watched For All Mankind, which is the sort of alternate history space man on the moon
Yeah.
show. Have you watched any of that
I
at all?
have. I think I've watched the first two or three. I think the first three, and it's been a little slow grabbing me. It's good. I'm, people will probably revoke my nerd card, but I'm not like a big space person. I find it interesting, but it's not like my thing. And I like the show. I think it's a good show, but I've really enjoyed the morning show a lot more.
Yeah, so the only thing I have watched is For All Mankind, because when we last spoke, there was only about 3 episodes out, I
Right.
think. But now we're up to 6, so I've watched 6 episodes. I guess it's what, like 9 or 12 episodes, I guess. So yeah, I've watched the first 6, and like you, like, it is a bit slow. It, it it's interesting enough that I want to keep watching it, but it's not really grabbing me and being like, right, you need to watch the next episode. I'm just sort of, it's kind of a nice relaxing show. There's not too much drama, really.
I think it's a bit of a slow burn. I mean, I found the first episode there was just too much setup and it was a little slow. But by the third, there seemed to be more action, drama, and suspense happening. And really, the reason I haven't gotten any further than the third is because I've been watching the morning show. I've been watching Castle Rock, which is a Hulu show, which I know unfortunately you can't get in the UK. I don't know what else. I've been watching a bunch of different shows and some movies and haven't really gotten around to really diving any deeper into any of the Apple stuff. And but I've enjoyed it for the most part. I mean, it's good. It'll be interesting to see if Apple can keep it up. I mean, they've got this initial slate, and when do they start adding to it? Do they start adding over the holidays? Is it early in the new year? I know that there are other things that are already planned and in the pipeline, but especially with this 1 year free trial that you get if you've bought some sort of Apple product around this fall, they're really going to have to continue to both build the existing database of shows and titles, but also make sure that they've got some big ones coming next fall around the time that all this stuff is going to roll off, and people are going to have to actually make the real decision, am I going to pay $5 a month for this? Like, if next fall we have kind of a lineup that's similar in scope and quality of what we've seen so far, I would probably pay the $5. I mean, I don't watch a ton of TV, but if I have 2 or 3 shows that I really enjoy and feel like, yeah, I'll watch 2 or 3 shows now, and over the course of the year there's maybe 2 or 3 more, I'd be willing to pay $5 for that. But I think Apple's really got a lot to do in front of them because they don't have the deep catalog like Disney Plus, which I've been watching as well.
Oh, well, I mean, one last thing about Apple TV Plus before we get on to Disney Plus, which is yet another thing that I can't get
right.
I cannot believe, and I think Mike Hurley was tweeting about this, about having this problem where like content's not available. This was on like the launch for the first like day. I have this same problem. So I go into the Apple TV app. I click, For All Mankind, or I'll click like, the next episode on the sort of watch now thing. I click it, starts loading, pops up a thing and says, this content's not available.
Really? You're still having this issue back like recently?
Right, yeah. I mean, this was like last week. I mean, that was when I started watching it.
All right, so not like launch day by any means.
No, so it consistently happens. I press it once, I get the error. I press it again, it starts playing. If I exit out, I will get the error message again until I open it a second time. And this is for every episode of anything that I press on Apple TV Plus. So that's fun.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, I can still watch it, but it's like really infuriating. It's like, come on, how? I was about to say, how hard is it to stream a 4K video from the internet to my house? But obviously, it's complicated. But
yeah,
I would expect Apple to do a little bit better than that.
Yeah, no, that is bad. I have not experienced that. I have seen some of the things. I know that Mike was talking at one point about how Apple TV would seem to lose his place in an episode if he paused it, like exited out of the app and came back later. I have seen that a couple of times, but for the most part, it's been fine. I mean, I don't know. It's a mixed bag. They're just getting their legs under them, I suppose, and hopefully it'll improve over time.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, yeah. So Disney Plus is not coming out here till March.
I know, and you're going to know everything there is to know about the Mandalorian by then, right?
Well, the one thing I'm very glad about is Star Wars is not my thing.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't really care about the TV show that much. So I'm not bothered about sort of getting spoilers. Now, if the show that had launched was one of the Marvel Cinematic Universe's shows, I'd be flipping a desk, because that's what I'm actually really interested in, is those shows, like the tie-in shows that they're doing. But I don't think the first of those is coming till like autumn next year, I think.
Yeah.
Sort of towards the second half of the year sometime,
right.
Maybe. But it is very weird for this service to launch in the US and not sort of elsewhere in the world, when it's got this huge Star Wars property related to it.
Right.
And only Americans can watch it. Like, I'm sure it's a licensing thing, or they couldn't launch the service or whatever, but it's very, very strange to have something that's that important. I mean, this is Star Wars we're talking about, you know what I mean? It's not like a small franchise.
Right, exactly. Well, in that sense, I do cut maybe Apple a little slack, only because they launched in something like 140 countries on the first day, which is pretty remarkable. I mean, that's an enormous population of people, and Disney had serious issues day one only handling the United States. Now, I mean, granted, that's a lot of people, but here's the thing. I mean, the first thing I did when that launched was I got into the app and I tried to log in with my credentials because I had already signed up, weeks before, and I immediately was met with the, we're having problems with our server type of thing. And
Hmm.
it, I wasn't in a huge hurry and I didn't really care, and I was able, that was early in the day. It was like maybe in the morning of day one. By the evening, I was logged in and it was totally fine. And I don't know. I can't remember if we watched The Mandalorian that night or the next day, but yeah, it was fine once I got up and running, and there weren't too many hiccups. And I think the Mandalorian is terrific. I'm not gonna say more than that just because there are a lot of people who haven't had a chance to watch it. I mean, I think it's the kind of show that even if you're not into the Star Wars universe, is appealing. It's very much standalone. I mean, despite the fact that there being a Baby Yoda, which I don't think I'm giving up a whole lot by saying that, uh, there's it doesn't require like a deep knowledge of Star Wars in order to enjoy it. It's just a good story, and I think it's for television. It's a really well done, and I think the special effects and all the sets and all that stuff, it's all really done well, and it's polished and it's cool. Disney Plus as a general proposition is very interesting because it's very different than TV Plus from Apple because they have a huge catalog, and you know what? I don't know. It's a huge catalog, but there's a lot in that huge catalog that I really will never watch. And
Yeah.
the reality is that I've seen all the Marvel movies, I've seen all the Star Wars movies, I've seen most of the Pixar movies, I've seen a lot of the stuff that I would already want to see. I'm not the kind of person who goes back and watches the same movie over and over and over. I know that is very much a thing for a lot of people. It's just not how I watch movies or TV. So I'm not going to go back and rewatch. I have rewatched some of the Marvel movies, but I'm not going to watch them like for a fourth time necessarily. So I'm really waiting for the original content to really kick in on Disney Plus because right now all I've really watched is The Mandalorian. Now there are some Pixar movies that have passed me by over the last few years that I'm going to go back and maybe over the holidays I'll fire up some of those and check them out. But I kind of wish there was more original content right out of the box from Disney than there is right now. I mean, I know Mandalorian isn't the only thing, but it's the only one at the moment that really appeals to me.
Yeah, it's. I mean, to what you said about the Mandalorian, I would probably watch it. It looks interesting, even though I'm not really that bothered about Star Wars. I'll probably watch it at some point. And I think to what you said, like, I kind of agree with you. Like, I've got all the Marvel movies on iTunes. I've got most of the Pixar and sort of Disney animated stuff on iTunes. But there is definitely a huge amount of people that only care about when they can, quote unquote, watch a thing for free, even if it's a thing they're paying for. Like, you see this when, like, oh, The Office is coming off Netflix. There's a petition with like 1 million signatures on it
Right.
because people are furious about it. Like, but and like Friends and all of these kind of things, and it's like you can get these other places, like especially The Office. I mean, it goes down to like $20 for the whole lot, like every
Oh no!
year.
Please don't tweet that because I learned my lesson about tweeting about sales on buying television shows. Well, why would you buy The Office when it's free on Netflix? Well, because it's not going to be anymore. Like I literally
Right.
just bought the full season, the full catalog of Futurama and
Oh,
and
nice.
30 Rock, just because there was a big sale over like the Thanksgiving week, and those are both great shows. And I haven't even touched any of them yet, but that's the kind of thing that I can when things get slow with some of these new services and the content that they're providing that's new. I can dip back into 30 Rock and just watch it night after night, or Futurama. It's I mean, I think we're in a situation where things are so fractured between all of these different content providers, and everything costs. Everything's an add-on now. I mean, we kind of got the future that we asked for, and it's not necessarily a whole lot better than what we had when everything was packaged. And as a result, it can be beneficial to actually own some of this stuff. The stuff that's really classic that you really want to watch. Like, I've watched a lot of 30 Rock, but I haven't seen every episode. And now, if I want, and I think I probably will over the winter, I will start watching them from the beginning, a couple a week, and just kind of go. And with the long run that show had, it'll take me forever to get through it, and that's great because that's kind of the background watching that I can do when I've got a little time on my hands. And at a 30-minute episode, that's absolutely perfect. Futurama is kind of the same thing, and I'm hoping Disney Plus gets their act together and stops cropping The Simpsons, because I'd love to just kind of start rewatching The Simpsons. They've said that they're going to do that, and that's thank goodness, because you lose a lot of the visuals and the detail doing that. I mean, I don't. I mean, 4:3 feels like a foreign thing now, but if something was designed for a 4:3 ratio, and what you don't want to do is cut off what the people who made the show intended you to see. I mean, probably the best example is that joke, the visual joke of the Duff Beer Company piping the same beer into Duff Light and Duff Classic or whatever it was, and it's right when they go 16.9, it cuts off the pipes that show that the same beer is going into each of the vats, and you lose something in that. And I'm looking forward to it going back to where it was, because for a while back in the DVD days, I was buying Simpsons collections of each of their seasons, and I have maybe the first 10 seasons on DVD, but I'd much rather have them digitally, as digital downloads, where I don't have to take my DVDs and just rip them all to Plex.
Yeah, I mean, well, and that was good. I see what you did there. Yeah, so Plex have launched an ad-supported streaming service.
Oh, yeah.
It's got movies and seemingly has just 2 TV shows right now.
Well, good for you. Good for you for finding the shows, because I thought it was just movies.
No, there is TV shows on there. I only found that on my Apple TV. There was a little section and it said TV shows, and I was like, oh right, okay, and it's just 2 things there. Right now, firstly, this is ad supported. It's effectively it's free. You can't really complain too much. It's launched in 200 countries or something. There's not that many good movies on there.
No.
I looked through what seemed to be their entire collection, and there was one movie that I might be interested in watching. Out of however many they had on there, it really feels like the bargain bin of what's left. It's all the stuff that even Netflix won't touch. They're like, no, we don't want that.
Right. Well,
give it to somebody
else. It's
else.
The DVDs that you take to the secondhand shop and they say, I'm sorry, we'll take them, but we're not going to give you any money for them. Because I sent you a screenshot of what was termed the popular section, and you very quickly get to Teen Wolf with Michael J. Fox from 1985. I mean, it's a pretty shallow collection of not great movies. But I don't know. Plex, to me, I described it to someone recently as the junk drawer of media, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, Plex for me is it's the place where one of the things I do with Plex is I regularly will see a live version of some song that I like, or an interview with somebody that I find interesting on YouTube, and I don't want to watch it right now, and I'll download it with an app, and I'll just throw it into Plex, and when I have nothing else to watch, I'll go to Plex and I'll watch some of those music videos or whatever they happen to be. But I don't know. I mean, you can hide this original content. I mean, I don't know if I can't. I guess it's kind of a stretch to call it original content, but you can hide these movies, ad-supported movies, from the app if you want, which I think I may do, at least on my personal devices. Because for me, Plex is more about things that I've kind of stashed away to watch later for myself, more than it is about finding existing shows that are available online. other than, I guess I would say, I mean, my biggest uses for Plex then are things I've downloaded from YouTube. And on top of that, I guess live TV. I watch my live TV through there. I have an antenna propped up in a window, so I have that. And I guess that's really about it. I mean, I watched the AMAs the other week. Those are not the Apple Music Awards. I mean, you might be confused based on reason.
What is it? American Music Awards? Is that what
they
that
are?
is?
I mean, because it's all about America. They're the
Of
American Music Awards, not to be confused with the British Music Awards, and it was really good this year. There's a lot of great acts on it, but that's the kind of thing that, because I no longer have Hulu Live, I can't really get unless I'm watching over an over-the-air antenna, which I was doing with Plex, which was a lot of fun, and it came out really well. But yeah, that's my Plex experience. How about you?
Yeah, mine, I'll be honest, it's basically an archive of BBC shows that I can't really buy.
Right.
So I've got every episode of Top Gear, like 22 seasons or whatever. Right. I got like 15 seasons of QI. But there's really just not a lot in there. Because I used to find movies and stuff that fell off the back of a truck, and I just wanted my life to be easier. I got rid of my Blu-rays and stuff, and I started buying from iTunes. So yeah, for me, like, Plex is really just for this. I mean, Top Gear is not exactly obscure, but you also just can't go out and buy, like, the entire every episode. Right. You can't really even buy a season. You can buy these weird, like, collections, or you can buy the special episodes, but you can't ever buy, like, a whole season.
Right.
So, I've grabbed those, and that's pretty much all I have in there. Or certainly that's all we use it for at this point.
Well, you kind of touch upon what I think is an interesting issue with media collection, and I think video is just kind of catching up to where music was, which is, for a long time people ripped CDs and downloaded things illegally, and just curated a local collection of songs to play on their Mac or their iPod or whatever it happened to be. And the same kind of transition is happening in video that happened with audio, where with streaming, you can kind of leave the curation and the collecting and the organizing to someone else and have it available. And there are a couple of ways that I think it'll, as we were saying earlier, I think buying video is going to go away more slowly than it did with audio, because all the audio streaming services have, basically, unless you have very specialized tastes, they tend to have the same content and almost anything that you would ever want to hear. Whereas video is still very fractured and hard to get all in one place. So there is a benefit to purchasing stuff on a particular platform. But
yeah,
I mean, I think though that doing things like dealing with YouTube DL, dealing with the command line interface for downloading things from YouTube and finding things on servers and downloading them and whatever you happen to do with Plex, it's more management and work, I think, than most people are willing to do. And I find it less and less attractive over time. It was really interesting listening to ATP recently, where Casey Liss is like hemming and hawing over what Mac to get because he's having troubles with his iMac. And one of his big stumbling blocks is, what is he going to do for Plex? How is he going to deal with Plex?
Right? Yeah.
And for me, Plex, I mean, I guess I'm fortunate enough that I've had Mac Minis in my life for quite a while now. And my retired Mac Mini is now my Plex server, because you don't really need a lot of power to serve Plex throughout your home. And a Mac Mini is a fantastic way to do that. I don't know that I would, I mean, the problem is, I think for Casey, is that he doesn't already own a Mac Mini. And I don't think I would suggest someone buy a Mac Mini just for Plex unless they found a really good deal on a used one, because mine's like a 2014 or something. And it's perfectly fine, because when I do over-the-air live TV, it's all being transcoded by a home run HD box that sits connected to the antenna and crunches all that video down to, a very easily a format that's very easily handled by the Mac Mini. But he was looking at an NVIDIA Shield, and I don't know. I know that Federico used that for about a year, and he gave up on it because it was just too fiddly and too much. And I mean, they're good, they're powerful, they can handle the job, but do you really want that? It's one of those things where how much complexity do you really want in your TV viewing experience? And there's already enough complexity with all the different streaming services and kind of managing what am I going to subscribe to, what I'm going to get for free, that kind of thing, that I feel like going even deeper and having to deal with transcoding and having dedicated hardware and all that is a little bit much.
Yeah. Well, it is what it is, I guess, and everyone, clearly it's more important to some people, but yeah, I'm like you. I'm kind of just sort of happy to just let everything be and kind of let it go and just subscribe to things and, buy what I need to buy and, just do that, really. And just buy the movies that I want, TV that I want. And, I try and pick stuff up on sale, like you said about the box sets. And, if I see something that I know I'm going to want in the future, even if it's on Netflix, I don't care. I'm just going to buy it now, and then I've got it for when I need it. So,
right. Well, and that's the thing, is that it's like you have to kind of understand what your viewing habits are. And for some people, it totally makes sense to rip all that stuff. Maybe you go get the Blu-ray box set from your local library and you take it home and you rip it. I mean, I'm not suggesting anybody do that, but it's been done. And yeah, but you can do that sort of thing, and it's a lot of work. But if you're gonna watch it over and over and over again, maybe it's worth the effort. If you're more of a casual viewer that watches something once or twice, like I am, it's probably, in most circumstances, better to just kind of, I don't know, pick it up when it's on sale, enjoy it, and be done with it at that point.
Yep, totally agree. Wow. Oh, we've been going quite a while for us.
We have.
Well, we are slowly but surely approaching 100. This is episode 97.
Oh, we're almost there.
So a few more left. We're nearly there.
You're gonna have to wait till next year, people. It's going to be a little while.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We're not going to squeeze another 3 episodes in before the end of the year. So,
no, not exactly.
But we'll definitely be able to get one more episode in at
definitely.
least. So yeah, we'll be back in a couple of weeks, and I'll speak to you later.
Bye, Rob.